Peace and blessings, everybody. It's your girl Wendy Zizzo here with Veronica, and we are part of the vibrations and the conversations brought to you by Full Aspect and all the other powers that be.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, but we here to just talk about self-loving and spirit sciences and how to navigate through life and relationships and how even the journeys of how me and Veronica even come to know what we know. You know what I mean? Like we we 25 for life, but we've been here a while. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So
I I definitely I don't know if you want to jump right in, but I was thinking about your journey and your healing practices that you do, and I came up with some questions. Can I ask you one of them, or do you?
listen, absolutely. I think the more people understand my journey, the more they'll qualify my information. They're like, oh, okay, so she did go through some shit. She should know what she talking
Mm,
about, type of
okay.
thing.
Should we start with what you went through? Is that the
How,
jump off?
however you
Okay.
want it,
Okay, so
however you
this is the
need
first
it.
question I want to ask, and this is actually one of my favorite questions to ask people who say that they're healers. Is when did you first realize that you had healing abilities, or that you were interested in healing, helping others heal?
Hmm, that's a good one.
Mhm.
So I didn't know I was really a healer, so to say, until I started really being around different circles of people. But
Mhm.
I want to say when I was maybe my 20s is
Mhm.
when I remember my mom had hurt her knee. She had knee surgery,
Mhm.
and I started to feel where she was feeling the pain in my knee. Like I
Oh
had
wow.
got real close to her, and I was
Mm.
like, "That's interesting." So I just kept rubbing her knee, not physically, excuse me, not physically touching it,
Mhm.
but just like massaging the energy around it. And then my
Mhm.
knee started hurting more, and hers started hurting less. And
Oh.
then another time, this one really tripped me out. So my grandmother on my dad's side, she
Mm.
was like 99 years old when she passed away. But this
Mm.
had to be
Bless
maybe
her.
when she was 97.
Okay.
She had dementia.
Okay.
And I went to the nursing home out in Queens to visit her, and she was not speaking properly. She didn't remember my uncle for
Mhm.
like the last year and a half or 2 years. She didn't remember his name or nothing, and she was just always belligerent and just extra,
Yeah.
you know. But as soon as she seen me, she calmed down, which
Mm.
was interesting. And then I had like I'm looking at her, and this was so after I'll have to rewind a bit, but
Yeah.
after going through the cancer shit, there was
Okay.
a point where in that journey I actually died for like 5 minutes. My heart
Mm.
stopped and shit.
What?
So after that, I felt like the spiritual doors got blown off the hinges. So I
Okay.
was able to sense and feel and because your eyes don't see all of the color spectrum,
Mm.
right? So when you open your senses up, you'll be able to sense more with your eyes than usual. So
Mhm.
anyway, back to my grandmother. So I noticed in her energy that it just looked scrambled. Like I can't explain it. It just it didn't look like it was the way it should be, right?
Mhm.
So while nobody was looking, I was behind her head and I was just massaging the energy, just trying to like calm it down because it was just so chaotic.
Yeah.
So I did that for a few minutes.
Mhm.
Like nobody seen me do it. I just, sat there. My intention was to just, calm her energy down.
Mhm.
And then I left. Maybe a few minutes later. Then the next day my uncle called me. He goes, now my uncle is Sicilian, right?
Oh, okay.
This is the Sicilian side.
Mm.
So he's not, into, what people call the woo woo, the
Yeah.
spiritual side. He's Catholic, right?
Oh,
But
okay.
he knows that I've been intuitive for a long time. But anyway, so he calls me up. He goes, Wendy, I know you into some stuff, but I need to ask you a serious question.
Mm.
And he was like, what did you do to my mother? And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, after you left, my mother knew my name and she
Mm.
has not said my name in almost 2 years, and she started smiling. And she has
Wow.
not smiled in about 2 years.
That's
He
incredible.
said, "What did you do?"
He's like, can you please do it every day moving
Yeah,
forward?
so I explained to him what I was doing,
Mm.
and he said, "Okay, I don't understand any of that, but it must be doing something because my mother hasn't smiled in 2 years."
Yeah. Okay.
So that was like just the little experiences that I was having along the way that I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool."
Mm.
And just in my own journey of severe depression and anxieties, all those terminologies we give our overload of energy,
Yeah.
you know, when I started to learn how to apply certain things for myself that was working, then I started sharing them with others. But going as far as transferring energy between me and another, I can't do that. It's too much.
Okay. But so you don't consider what you did as some kind of, like, if you're able to move the energy, it sounds, I mean, if you don't classify it that way, that's fine. But it seems like some kind of, not directly to her, but to her energy, which is a part of her, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than giving someone a hug. It's a spiritual hug versus a physical hug.
Right. Okay.
Just like when you give someone a hug, you can actually feel them touching you. You can interact with their body. There's some type of transfer in a sense going on, right? So, on a etheric level, I'm just massaging the energy, with my hands because I could feel it.
Right.
And yeah, that was probably one of the trippiest things that I mean, I probably have more since then.
we're gonna dig for those because I want to hear more stories. I don't know. I'm the kind of person, like, if you got a ghost story or an alien story or like a loved one passing away and there was some kind of spiritual connection story, I love hearing all of those. So we're gonna.
Oh well, I mean, I haven't announced it publicly, but I
Oh.
am a medium.
Okay.
So I see dead people. I can talk and communicate with people that have crossed over. And what's interesting? I had a class in last semester. It was called The Psychology of Death and Dying. And actually, before that, I was even at an event where this gentleman, he's a medium, and they basically found out a scientific way how to explain what's happening and prove that it's real, that it's really happening, that people are literally picking up this energy. Like, we don't die. We never die. In my opinion, death is a transition, just like birth is a transition, right? Yeah. You go through a birthing process to go from one place to another, and death is the same thing. Right. You transfer from one state to another state. Right. And then they also found by accident this guy was hooked up to an EKG, I think. It was an EKG and a brain machine because they were monitoring him for I think seizures or something like that. And he died while he was on the machine. So this was the first time they were ever able to record someone literally passing away. And they noticed that all of his brain activity shot through the roof. And they found that people release an enormous amount of DMT.
Right, I've heard about that.
At the moment that they're passing. So it's a funny way to put it, but you tripping out on your way out, basically.
Right. Yeah, and then DMT is like, don't they call that like the spirit molecule or something like that? Right.
That's what your pineal gland makes. It helps you sleep, dimethyl. I'm not even going to try to say that word because people are going to think that I'm uneducated because I do things I can't pronounce. But it's dimethyltryptamine or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so they have a book. One of the books I read in my class. What was the name of it? They did an experiment.
Tell everyone what you're taking classes for, because does everyone know already?
Oh no! So yeah, I'm finishing my bachelor's so I can move forward with the master's in psychology. So I could, it's a bachelor's in psychology and then in counseling, so I could be a licensed therapist. But I'm only doing the licensed therapy part to get the license so that I could take insurance.
Okay.
Because I can do a therapy now. But it's just not that way, and it's not with insurance. It's, straight, cash, credit card, cash.
Okay, yeah.
But the other book, what was the name of this book? I'm trying to find it in my library. The Afterlife Experiments. So
Oh,
they
wow.
did these experiments where they took, I think it was like 4 or 5 different mediums, well-known mediums,
Oh.
and they had each one of them read the same person, and
Mhm.
a lot of them all said the same information.
Mm,
So they were basically trying to prove like there's no way that all these people could have known the same thing, and
mhm.
even in different ways about this particular person's experience. So um,
Right.
I
And in the
say
book,
all
did
that to
they,
say, huh?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
The book is called The Afterlife Experiences.
I want to read that.
I'm
That is
sorry, The Afterlife Experiments. I'm
the
bugging.
afterlife experiments.
Yeah, by
This is one of
Gary
my
E. Schwartz.
this is one of my favorite topics.
Oh no, the book is actually a good read. Like I almost
I
couldn't
believe
put the
you.
book down. It was a good
It
read, but
sounds really interesting to me.
yes, it's interesting. And for me, it was um a confirmation that I ain't crazy.
Okay, I mean that's
That's
always
what it
wonderful,
was.
right?
Yeah, that's what it really was for me. Like I felt like, okay, I'm not crazy. So I am really having this experience. I ain't making this shit up. Even though I've had so many different readings
Mhm.
with people
Right.
where they looking at me like, how the hell did you know that? And I'm like, this is what they told me. Like, I don't know this stuff.
Yeah,
So
that level of validation too for what you're doing, I think that can be kind of rare. Like some people are born into families where there's like, generational mediums, and so they're taught by someone else. But if you're coming into it on your own and no one else, or discovering that you have this inside of you on your own and no one else in your family or your friends can support you in that, then I could see how you'd be walking around like,
yeah, you
oh,
feel like you're crazy. And then,
yeah,
I come from the hood and, you know, everybody was already calling me a weirdo. And like, I'm just making
right.
it worse,
Now you don't have to hide.
Nope, I embraced it.
Yes,
It is all me,
beautiful.
all that I am.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is an excellent answer to my question. I
Awesome.
learned a lot more things than I thought I was going to. And then another question I have for you is, what made you want to get into the field of healing overall? And did you have was there some kind of breaking point or something, or what inspired this to want to get into the healing field?
So, even though sometimes I be feeling antisocial, but I love people, right?
Mhm.
Especially people that want or actually looking or open to help, right? So,
Mhm.
but for me, I suffered a lot in
Mm.
my life,
Okay.
right? And from going through so many different trials and tribulations and downs and, you know, the information that I've learned over the years that's helped me to basically save my life. I'm like, I want to teach this to people. Like I want
Mm.
people to know, because if if I had someone like me to sit and teach me this stuff years ago, it would have saved me from a lot of
Yeah.
BS. It would have helped me better through a lot of hard times, because I had this information, but I had to actually go out and look for it.
Right.
So what drawn me more so to helping people is the fact that I know what it's like to suffer, and I want to do whatever I can to help people to not suffer.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
like I can never see me being a doctor because I don't like touching people.
Okay.
I can never see me being, as any further in law enforcement than I've already gone. And so, helping people in this way, like even being a therapist,
Mhm.
helping you with your mind, I feel like helps you with everything else.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So that's just knowing what it's like to be in pain and needing help and answers that
Yeah.
actually work. That's what drove me to want to help people in that
Okay.
way.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful answer. Generosity
Thank
of
you.
spirit. Yes.
Yeah, I know what it's like to go through some shit, man.
Because there's some people out there that are like, whatever I struggled and you can struggle too. Like we
Oh
need more
yeah,
like you
absolutely.
in the
Yeah.
world. Because like when everyone is healthy, mentally well, physically well, the world is a better place. Like sick people are miserable, and people who are struggling with mental health issues have a challenging time, and we all feel that. I think people want to believe that they can just turn their head and look the other way, but we all feel that pain.
No, we all go through something. And the
Right.
thing is that um I don't expect everyone to listen to me. I
Mm.
feel like whoever's meant to hear the information that I share will receive it,
Right.
and it'll actually help them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's people out there that don't want help. They don't even think that there's a problem.
Right.
You know, the first step to fixing anything is to admit that there's a problem, you know.
Right.
But I just want to be one of those solutions out there that people could, you know, utilize in that sense.
That's wonderful. And then how, when you started stepping into this role for yourself, how did other people respond to you being a healer? Like, we have the example of you said it was your uncle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was like, I guess from his perspective as a Catholic person, not necessarily believing in those things, but then having to recognize that you did something very powerful for his mother, you know?
Yeah, that he was like, how the hell did you do
Right. So it's like you did something so amazing for him that he clearly was going through a bit of like some kind of crisis of like, well, how does this work? Because they told me that this isn't a thing, you know? But for you, how have people responded in your life? Have they been supportive, or have they questioned you?
Well, the people that support me the most are the ones that are around me to see that it ain't bullshit.
Okay.
You know, like I've bugged people out. Like if you're around me long enough, you will get bugged out. I swear you will. So,
I feel like I have some familiars around me, and I'd be like, oh, dope. Like, let's have a better conversation, because I could only tap in this much, you know?
Yeah, like it'll just happen. Like there'll just be something that goes on, whether, you know, I see a synchronicity and, you know, that perfect timing type of thing happens. You're like, yo, what is that? You know what I mean? So it's almost like, you know, I'm like Neo in this bitch. I be freeing minds and shit. You know, I stay free in minds. Like I love doing that. You know.
Yeah. So do you feel like a majority of people have been supportive? You said it's
I mean,
mostly,
for the most part, you know. And plus, I've been keeping it to myself for so long. Like just having this conversation with you live on camera, this is like a first for me to really expose myself, you know. But most of the people, for some reason, people don't look at it as crazy. Maybe it's just the way I look, you know, because I wear my crystals and stuff. You know, when I start talking about this type of stuff, they're like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like that tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, you know, but I haven't had anybody that would be like, yeah, okay. Or if they did, then again, something happened that they was like, yo, you know, she's the real deal.
Okay.
You know, actually, one of my friends, a good friend of mine, actually, he always was skeptical for years. Like he's known me 20 plus years, right? And he was always skeptical. You know, when I used to tell him stuff, and he's like, yeah, whatever. I believe when I see it. And then unfortunately, a friend of mine, girlfriend of mine, which he also knew her since she was a teenager, she had passed away. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna believe you if you could tell me this one thing. He was like, when they were, because he'd known her since she was a kid, so she had like 5 sisters, and you know, he knew the whole family. But one of the sisters used to make something that he really, really liked, like a certain dish. So he told me, he said, ask her what was the dish that I liked.
Yeah.
So the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, it looks like slop. I was like, what is this, like a porridge or something? Or he was like, what? I was like, what? I was like, what the hell is this? And the first thing I thought about was like seafood, but I didn't say specifically. I said fish, like a fish. Something just looks like slop, like a jambalaya or some shit.
Okay.
And he was like, he just got quiet, and he was like, wait, tell me more. And I was like, she's showing me like a big pot of, it just looks like slop, but it looks mad good. You know, like, he was like, was it? It was, I think it was like a jambalaya, something in that family, like a stew, like it was a seafood jambalaya, something that she would make for him, specifically that dish. I never knew this. I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
And that was what she told me from the other side, because she passed away and I was connecting with her. And after that, that's now he believes me.
And then when you say she showed me, do you see her when you're talking about she showed me? Like, do you?
Well, they give you images,
pop into your head.
like you'll get just these subtle images, and it's like, I've noticed the more I've healed over the years, the more vivid they get. it's easier to see it. Like it's almost
Yeah.
seeing it with your third eye,
In your
right?
mind's eye,
Yeah,
yeah.
my mind's eye. And it's like she's just showing me a pot. I
Mhm.
don't see her, I just see the pot.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm like, what is that? Oh, they
That's
look
really
mad
cool.
good. It looks something sloppy as hell, but it look good as hell. But yeah, after that, he went from 80% to believe in me to a full 100% believe me. But yeah, no, they download the information in like images.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll hear a word or something that sounds like if they're giving me a name and I'm not hearing the name clearly, so I'm like, is it like a name or a C, whatever they show me, right?
Mhm.
So it's an interesting experience, I can tell you that.
Um, is there, like, after having an experience like that, is there anything in particular you have to do to kind of like move that energy away from you or release that energy, or do you
That's a
know?
good question.
Yeah.
Hmm, if I'm doing it for long enough, then yeah, I need to go sit and just breathe
Mhm.
and ground myself,
Okay.
because I've had experiences where it got so intense that my body would start to shake because
Mm.
it's vibration, right?
Right. Okay.
So I, when they get close enough to me, my body would shake. So
Okay.
after I have to like just recenter myself and
Yeah.
leave me alone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing. So yeah, a little
Cool.
bit of a process afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the next question I want to ask you, um, for this specific thing that you're talking about, how like images come into your mind and like names or words, did you have to study with anyone to learn how to do that, or was your path more self-taught?
I want to say more of self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was first diagnosed with the cancer stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like within that first week, my mother took me to a friend of hers that is a card reader.
Mm.
And the lady, she gave me a reading. She told me I was gonna be fine and everything. And she told me, she said, you can do what I do.
Oh.
Actually, you could do more than me.
Mm.
And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And the only thing she told me was, whenever I do send someone, she told me to ask questions to get answers.
Okay.
Like ask for a name first.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only thing somebody taught me.
Okay.
And I used it the first time I ever had experience, and yeah, that's what happened.
That's cool. All right. And then you told us about this book that you read in class. Do you have any other books that you have read that have helped you with your process of, like, I guess, kind of like unpacking your own ability to heal, or ways that
Oh,
you?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Shoot, when saying that self-taught is
Mm-hmm.
me reading a shitload of books.
Okay. Yeah.
I read a lot of books, but one of the books that started to crack me open
Mm-hmm.
was the Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Hmm.
That was the first book that I read that was like, that made me start to explore the mind and patterns,
Mm-hmm.
and just why is my life this way type of thing.
Mm.
Then the
Okay.
next book after that started to crack it open even more was The Four Agreements by
All
Don
right.
Miguel Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
I love that book. Four
Yeah.
Agreements is a really good book. And after that I just went ham. Like I read, who shoot, they're all in my living room, like most of them, because some of them
Mm-hmm.
are PDFs. But let me think of something off the top of my head that I read. Frequency was another one that was more of a recent book. The Power of Now, the Seed of the Soul,
I got that
um,
one too. Yeah.
the Heart of the Soul. Gary Zolak, he's a good
Yeah.
good author. The New Earth.
I have that.
Um,
Eckhart Tolle.
yeah, Cartola. Yeah, he's cool. Let me see what I have in just this. A Happy Pocket Full of Money. That was actually a good
Ooh,
book. That was
that
a
sounds like
cute book.
fun.
Yeah. Psycho Cybernetics.
Psycho
That
Cybernetics.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was written by actually a surgeon.
Can you give us like a 3-sentence
So
kind
that
of?
book talks about your self-image. When
Mm.
you understand how you create your self-image, So
Okay.
your self-image is what I think you think that I think I am.
That's too many separate.
Yeah,
I need a
it's an
diagram.
interesting. So
Wait,
he basically was showing how,
can you say it one more
somebody would
time?
come in and get the smallest little change in their face. It could be something very minor, and it would change their entire persona.
What? Wait, I don't understand.
So like say somebody had like me, I have just a little bump on my nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this bump on my
Oh,
nose makes me
yeah.
so ugly. So
Okay.
now I'm depressed. I feel like crap. I'm
Yeah.
not making the money I want because I don't have the confidence.
Mm.
All these different things that play into it. So now I go to see the surgeon, and he
Mm-hmm.
corrects this little bit of it. Like nobody notices it but me.
Right. Right.
Right? He fixes it, and now my life just takes off because
Okay.
now
Okay.
I believe my self-image of what I think people think of me when they're looking at me.
Okay. And it's what
So
you
that's
want it to be.
huh?
Yeah. And it's what you want it to be.
And
Like
it's
so
on a
when you change
subconscious
it.
level. Like
Yeah.
these are
Okay.
deep-seated beliefs that you have about
Mhm.
yourself, your
Yeah.
self-image. The Secret, great book, and
Okay.
also
Yep.
the movie,
Hmm.
The Secret. The Body Keeps Score.
I got that
That
one
was a
too.
dope book.
Yeah.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Joe Dispenza.
Mm,
uh 7 Habits of Highly Effective People,
yep.
How to Win Friends and Influence
Yep.
People. um
Good old Dale
uh,
Carnegie.
I could go on and on and on about
Yeah.
the books. Like
Okay. So
I
we'll
think I
do.
read what's the one by, oh crap, I hate when I get a brain fart.
You just listed so many titles. I don't think you should be knocking yourself down for not being able to remember one out of like
No, but
15.
this one, like I read this book like 13. Well, I'm lying. I ain't read. I listen to books too.
Yeah.
Like people, I'm gonna tell people out there now.
Hmm.
If you drive a lot in your
Yeah.
car, instead of listening to music, listen to audiobooks. You
Mm,
can get a college level amount of books in if you're listening to books every day while you're driving to and from work. And I did that. I stopped listening to my radio and just went straight on to audiobooks.
mm-hmm.
And oh man, because what I was doing was watching a lot of videos of people that are rich. Because I'm like, if this is the way I want to be, I'm gonna listen to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the books that they were recommending, I just started reading them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Napoleon Hill is another one. That's the other book I was trying to remember. What's his
Think
damn
and
book?
Get Rich.
Yes. That Think and Grow Rich. I probably listened to that book 14, 15 times.
Oh damn. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in
Sounds
some
like
books
it's
you want to listen
working.
to or read multiple times.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you're always a new person after you
Right.
read it.
Right. Then you go back through and you see the things you underlined. And I like, for me, sometimes when I'm rereading books, I'm like, oh, damn, like I was at a point in my life where I was thinking about this thing because like maybe I had forgotten about it, and like reincorporate it into my life again. And I'm like, oh, like old me from 3 years ago underlined this. So she was thinking about that. And now we're here and we're looking at this book again. And then there's new things you want to underline because it hits you
Yes.
differently the second and third time,
Yeah, somebody asked me that. They was like, "Oh, so why is it when you're reading the book it's different?" I said, "Because you're a different person.
Yeah.
Every time you learn something and you change something about yourself, you're literally changing. You're a new person now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the same person the day before.
Right.
You're a totally different version of you now
Mm-hmm.
whenever you learn something new. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why when you go back and read it, you're noticing something different and ingesting it in a different way now.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yup.
Let's see what's next. I want to ask about, that was great, by the way. I feel like we should put a list of those books somewhere for everyone.
Yeah, we'll put that up somehow.
What about challenges that you face with maybe this like ability? Do you feel like you face certain challenges because you have this unique ability, or because you've developed it to this point? Are there challenges that you face because of it, or would you say that's more of like a blessing?
I would say the challenges came in feeling isolated from everyone else because they couldn't understand me. And like I said, everybody called me a weirdo anyway, and I'm just giving them more ammo and shit. They just, I think one time I was gonna do performance because I also into music and I perform music. And the guy he introduced me as, he's like, "Yeah, this is Staten Island's Erykah Badu." I was like, okay, I'll take it. You know, I'm the
Yeah.
spiritual lady.
Right.
But no, it's isolating because you can't talk about it with everybody
Mhm.
because then it goes into a full on teaching mode, and then now the person's gonna go into psychosis because you know you over here introducing new things into their consciousness that they're not ready for, and then
Mhm.
now they don't like me because they think I'm trying to change them, and I'm not. I'm not trying to change you. I'm just giving you the information.
Right. Right.
Your subconscious is pushing back at it,
Mhm.
so now you think I'm trying to change you. I'm not. I'm just
Yeah.
here's the information.
Yeah. Do
You
with
know.
it what you will.
Yeah, and the other part of it is just really finding my tribe
Okay. Yeah.
and being bold, or I don't know if it's bold or brave enough to just say, fuck it, let me tell people
Mm.
more like I'm
Yeah.
doing now.
Yeah. You get an A plus 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 for bravery because this is kind of like a spiritual healing and coming out party for you, right? Like
Ah,
she's here, everyone.
I've arrived.
Yes. How do you stay grounded and balanced while holding space for people?
Ooh. Doing the best I can to be as non-judgmental as I possibly can.
Okay, I love that.
Like when people are expressing or showing who and what they are,
Mm-hmm.
I just notice it for what it is. I don't try to judge somebody like, oh yeah, you crazy, or oh yeah, you got this problem. Like I'm not doing that. I'm just allowing you to be, because your emotions and what you think expresses itself in different ways. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm trying to think. The question is
How do
how to,
you,
huh?
yeah. How do you stay grounded
How do
while?
I stay grounded? I spend
Yeah.
a lot of time with me, myself, and I.
Yes.
uh, I will go hug some trees.
Okay,
I
I've done
will
that.
go put my feet in the dirt with the trees. Because
Mm-hmm.
listen, if people see me hugging a tree and they think, "Oh, what the hell is she doing?" I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you what I'm doing. I
Okay.
know something you don't know. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yo, the amount of energy that comes from the planet itself will blow your mind when you
Wow.
tune in with it.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I started using trees to ground myself.
Okay.
Yo, I could feel this tingling sensation all going through my body. I was like, yo, what is...
Mm-hmm.
And oh, that just reminded me of something. My back hurt. I think I'm gonna go outside after this and go
Oh
hug my
yeah.
trees on the tree.
Let the
Because
tree
trees be
take it.
taking the pain away too.
Yes,
Like,
I habitually I like to run at Van Cortlandt Park. I live in the Bronx, and there's this tree. I have my favorite tree. I haven't named it, but I check on it every time I go. It's huge. You cannot get your arms all the way around it,
oh, that's
and
awesome.
it's a beautiful tree. And when I go there, I do my stretches with my hands on the tree and my feet on the roots, and I sit on it and I hug it and I put my forehead on it sometimes if there's something like really stuck in my head that I'm like, I need this out. Please take it from me.
Facts.
Yes.
No, it's whenever I'm having, like, even if I'm dealing with an overwhelming situation with other people or whatever, I will go and lean up against a tree.
Yeah.
And just ask the tree nicely, can you help me with this? And I'll start feeling my legs start jiggling a little bit. And I'm like,
Okay.
I feel the pulling. I feel like I'm being like embraced by the tree. And like,
yeah.
man, people just don't understand, man. Like
Nature
this
is
is
so
this
amazing.
is the knowledge that they took from us.
Mm.
This is the stuff that our ancestors knew about,
Yep.
but they took it. So people, I'm trying to remind you.
Yeah. this is in your DNA already.
This is in your DNA. Go hug some trees.
Yeah.
Actually, I seen this video. Ryan Coogler was talking about We've Always Been African, where he was visiting Africa because he was shooting Black Panther. So he wanted to go there and, experience Africa firsthand. Like, what's it like in the urban areas where people live? And he was noticing that the way people operate in terms of like the young kids are out front. Then you walk in the house and then the OGs is in there talking. And then you go further in and then the women are in the kitchen cooking. And you go in the background in the backyard and there's more people back there. He's like, this all feels familiar. And then the guy was like, yeah, this is the culture. We've been doing this for thousands of years. And he's like, yo, this is the same stuff we do back at home.
Yep.
And then he really realized, like, yo, we've always been African. Like, just because they took the knowledge from us, they can't take it out of our DNA.
Yeah.
Especially if you're resonate with even the stuff me and you were talking about. That means the part of your DNA is trying to remember it. So come on.
Come back.
You're like Dave Chappelle. He was Rick James.
Don't get me started. Fuck your couch.
Love that.
I won't say bad words loudly on here. Okay. So what do you hope that people take away from working with you? Do you want them, like, you have multiple objectives? Do you want them to learn about what you do? Is it that you want them to heal whatever they came to you for? Or is there some other thing that you're hoping to achieve when you're working with someone?
I hope to achieve exactly what the person is looking for. People are looking for relief. They're looking for help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I want whomever works with me or benefits from the information that I share and they apply it, that it actually changes something in their life for the better. Like they can viscerally in their body feel that there's been a change, and that changes everything. Because once you change the inside, it starts to change the outside.
Right. Yeah.
So I want people to have results from working with me.
Yeah.
That's important.
I stumbled across a quote a couple days ago, and it's when I change what's inside of me, everything around me changes, right? Like when we make changes within ourselves, like what you were talking about, even the cybernetics book where the person, I won't say I hope that people aren't doing that. Like I feel like people should do what they need and want to do, but a change like that, right? You change that little thing in your nose, but like also other types of changes that we make in our thinking and our mindset. And like you could go from a place where you feel spiritually poor, right? And then you change your mindset, and all of a sudden everything you see looks different. What you have, the experiences you have with other people, talking to strangers in the street, your job, like everything can change from making small changes within our mindset and our bodies. Yeah.
And you are what you eat, and not just nutrition. In terms of what you're watching, where's your attention going? Like if anybody takes anything just from this episode alone, it's start giving your mind new information. Read new books. Listen to new books. Start giving yourself more information to pull from, because if you're going to base everything in your life off of what you know, then that's it. And that's going to be your results. So if you have certain results and you don't like it, it's because that's based off of the level of understanding that you have. So until you start introducing new information in for you to look at things in different ways, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over and over and over and over. And then you're like, oh, God hates me. No, you ain't changing your mind. Like God loves you so much that God will support the thing that we call God. All that will support you in anything you believe in. So if you believe that you ain't shit, that's what you're going to experience. If you believe you are the shit, then that's what you're going to experience. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see. What's next?
Part of my language, people. I'm sorry. It just comes out that way.
Keeping it real, folks. Let's see.
Keeping it real.
What advice would you give to someone who feels they might also be a healer?
Follow your passion in that. Do whatever it is that your heart is drawing you to, whether it's to start getting more crystals, if it's going out to, because the whole point is that you can only heal others when you're working on yourself. So the more you're going to work on yourself, the more information will come in, to know what's the next step that you should do. Maybe as you're following this, you'll go to a shop to find a crystal, and then you'll meet somebody there. You click, have a great conversation, and you say something to them that will actually help them in that moment. And bam, you just performed your first healing, so to say, because you're not healing anyone. You're just your vibration, your frequency is so pure that now they're choosing to meet your frequency. So now it's going to bring them out of wherever they were. That's what Yeshua did. People like, oh, Yeshua was healing people. He wasn't healing people. He just seen them healed, and they chose to agree with him.
Okay. Right.
That's basically what had happened. Like when you're like, the power of belief is amazing.
Yeah. Like the placebo effect, like I know it's much deeper than a placebo effect, but that's how the placebo effect works, right? You like have these drug studies, and people like, some people are going to get the drug and some people aren't going to get the drug, and we're not going to tell you who's who. And then these people with these ailments and different conditions feel as if their condition has improved, and they can chart, they can like track the blood pressure. Oh, the blood pressure went down. Oh, these aches and pains, the reporting is only a 3 out of 10 now instead of a 9, and they didn't even get the drug. They just thought they got the drug,
Yeah. The power of the mind. That's why I said that first book that cracked me open was The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Okay.
I was like, oh. Then I read another book called A Bug-Free Mind. It was like a series of like 2 or 3 books. And that book, oh shit. I was like, it's part of my language. I was like, yo, I could change my mind. Like, I could change this. This ain't the way it's supposed to be.
Right?
It don't have to stay like this. I was like, oh yeah. I went in from there. But listen, the more information you have, the more options that you'll have with your mind. And when you can learn to master your mind, now you mastered your life.
Right. I really believe that is where true freedom comes from. Like, we think that we're seeking freedom when we're interacting with people a certain way. When someone does this for me, I'll feel free. Or when I have this job or this amount of money, I'll feel free. And really, like, we have access to freedom at all times through our thoughts, through our mind, how we look at the world, how we see ourselves. Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, the power of your mind and your imagination.
Oh,
like people,
imagination, that's a big one for me.
I can give a great quick example of how powerful the mind is if people don't understand it.
Yeah, do it.
If you could be depressed, if anybody's experiencing depression right now, that's because your mind is no longer in your control, and you're believing things that are out of alignment with what you actually want, more so. But just the fact that you've been practicing the same thought patterns over and over and over, it's creating a feeling. That's why you feel depressed, because your mind is doing that. It's like, now all you gotta do is just shift a few different things in your mind. It'll change your entire life. You're like, oh shit. Depression is compression. You're compressing yourself. You're holding in all this energy and you're not releasing it. And you're not releasing it because you're stuck in the same thought patterns. And the thought patterns is basically the wheel that keeps it going. The more you're on the story, it's just going to keep going around and around.
The more you tell it, right?
Around and around and around and around. And that's why you feel the way you do, because your mind is that powerful.
Yeah. And then, like, I have heard some analogies recently about thoughts and like how our brain works with certain thoughts. Like, it's kind of like a rut in a road, right? The more you drive the car down the road, the deeper the rut gets. The more you think that thought, the more ingrained it is in you, and the harder it is for your brain to let it go. And you literally have to program yourself to stop thinking certain thoughts so that you can change and make progress.
Yep. And the best part too is, yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Your brain changes with every new thought you give it, right? And there's this thing called neuroplasticity, where the neurons that wire together fire together, right? So AKA, when you're practicing a certain pattern, let's say you're learning a new skill, right? Say you're learning martial arts. That's why they do repetition. You're doing the same move over and over and over and over and over. Why? Because it's going to become second nature to you.
Right.
And it's the same thing with your thought patterns. If you're consistently practicing the same thing over and over and over and over, so if you're stressing about the same thing over and over and over and over and over, you're going to keep creating that experience. And now that's going to create pathways in your brain. They're going to wire together, fire together. Bam. Now you have this thought pattern until, like you said, it's ingrained in you so much. It's because that thought pattern, that road that you created is so thick, in a sense, like a muscle. It got so strong
Yeah.
Now you have to start working out a new muscle, create a new neural pathway before, so that you can kind of deactivate that one over time. The less attention you give it, it's like atrophy. When you don't use it, you lose it. Same thing.
Let the grass grow back into the track. Make it
Yeah,
disappear.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, so my last question for now is, what is one thing people misunderstand about healing or healers that you wish that they knew?
There's a few different things that
Okay.
people project onto that. The
Yeah.
first thing is you have these fear-based people with their thinking that it's demons.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
Oh man. I wind up getting into arguments with people about this. There's no such things as demons. There's no
Okay.
such thing as demons. What there is low vibration and there's high vibration. When you're in a low, dense vibration, you will have certain experiences in that. So much so that you can focus your energy to create these archetypes that now the only way that your mind can understand what's happening is by giving it some type of imagery. And that imagery will come from some shit that you read in a boogeyman book when you was a kid. And
Right.
you're like, oh, that's a demon that I'm hearing. No, you're hearing yourself. Or when people, sleep paralysis.
Okay.
People like, oh, that was a demon holding me down. No, that was you.
Mhm.
How is that me? I was sleeping. You are multidimensional, but that's another conversation.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I would say if you believe that somebody is going to heal you, then they will help you. If you
Okay.
don't believe that someone is going to heal you, then they won't. Because
Alright.
your belief is what really is the bread and butter of healing. Like you have to match this
Okay.
person's intention and vibration
Right.
in order for you to benefit from it. But if you go into it with the idea that, oh, they're not going to help me, this is bullshit,
Right.
then that's the experience you're going to get. You're
Yeah.
going to create that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
be
read
open-minded. That's all I would have to
be
say.
open-minded. Absolutely. That's great. That's great advice. Because I think that's something that's unfortunate. And I think in this part of the conversation, I want to recommend to people who have tried healing stuff before and thought that it didn't work to maybe revisit it, because maybe it just you weren't in alignment at that time, but I love thinking about this idea of people finding each other, people being in alignment, and that's how things click. That's how things work.
Yeah. Or go to someone else that maybe like even with therapy, right? People that go see a therapist, some people don't feel comfortable going to see somebody that's younger than them. They're like, what could you tell me? They want an older person because they feel like, oh, this person is wise, when really the younger person might know more than the older person in terms of techniques and new studies and stuff like that. You never know.
Yeah.
But it's just all about your belief. So go try someone else. You might come across something that resonates more with you, that you're like, all right, I might believe this more. Or go to a sound bath.
Love those.
Go to a sound bath. Like, you don't have to believe in anything. Just go to a sound bath, close your eyes, and feel those frequencies, those vibrations from those bowls. And if that don't change your mind, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
Because, whoo, crystal bowls, baby. I got a couple of them myself.
You have to bring them on one time. Yeah.
Yeah, I love me some crystal bowls, but frequency, it's all about frequency. Tesla said it. You want to understand the universe? Understand frequency and vibration. That's why we vibrations and conversations. We're giving them good vibes. But I want to ask you now, what drew you to being in this space, this paradigm of spirituality, and what's some of the things that drove you here?
Well, I think it's partially my personality type. I've always been spiritual, even ever since a child. Like when I was little, we didn't go to church on a regular basis as a family, but we went to church when we were with relatives. And I was always asked, when are we going to church? When are we going to church? And I love just being in the church. And I still love churches to this day. I don't attend a church on a regular basis, but I love the physical building of churches because I love the idea of people over generations coming together with the purpose of doing something for their spirit together as a community, you know. But I've always been fascinated by different practices, spiritual practices, religious practices, been curious, and read a lot of books. I can't make a list like you did, but I've always enjoyed reading spiritual material and like about new practices or different practices. And I was back in the self-help section when it was uncool to go there. Like I remember when I first moved to New York, I would go to the self-help section of the Strand, and I would kind of like sneak around, like, and then like really get settled in once I realized that no one was watching, like as if they care, right? But now like self-help is really popular and people are buying these books and selling these books. And it's like, I've been doing that for a long time. So I don't know. I think it's not even necessarily because I thought there was something wrong or different about me, but I am similar to you where everyone is always like, when I was younger, I was weird. And then when I was in undergrad, I was different. And then, you know, I've always kind of felt like an outsider, but like you said, also trying to find my tribe. So I'm finding people who I'm in alignment with now, I think because I've really, really accepted myself. And I think that journey of self-acceptance is also part of what has brought me to this space where I spent a lot of time thinking like, well, how come this relationship didn't work? And like, how come my family is like this? And I also struggled with depression when I was younger. I went through bouts of cyclical depression. And so in the process of trying to like wrangle that and like come out of that, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of research, and just landed on a whole bunch of different things. And like, I didn't create my own religion, but I took stuff from practices that I thought that it made sense to me. I was like, this really seems like this is the way the world works. And like, some of it might have been Hindu and some of it might have been in Buddhism and some of it might have been Christian, but all of the things together, I mean, they definitely all have similarities, but
Absolutely.
This is just my long-winded way of saying that I've always been really curious about this kind of thing. And it's always been one of my favorite topics. Even if it's something I feel like I'm not sure I'm capable of, like I love reading about people like you and people who can full on see dead people. I'm like, it's incredible that people have these experiences. And I just want to understand how that's happening for folks, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like, so yeah, your DNA remembers. That's what it is. You came here with some activated DNA, like, okay, where is it? I know it's around here somewhere.
Right?
No, that's not it. But one of the things you said that I wholeheartedly agree with is that when you research enough religions, you start to see the core similarity that all of them share.
Yeah.
All of them share the same one thing, which is connection, you know, reconnecting. The thing is the whitewash version wants you to connect with something outside of yourself.
Right.
You know, but like Buddhism and Hinduism, things like that is teaching you to go within.
Right.
Because that's, you know, Yeshua talks about it in the Bible. The kingdom of heaven is within.
Right.
You know, I mean, no disrespect to people that, you know, practice religion, but it just bugs me out that people are more obsessed with Yeshua. I'm not going to call his name with the J because his name is Yeshua. They're more obsessed with him than they are the teachings.
Okay. Yeah. And I can
like
think
they have this obsession with him.
Right.
And just totally ignore the teaching. It's like, listen to what the man said. You know what I mean? Like, not the man, what he said.
Right.
You know, that might actually help. But no, it's you're back home, and I'm so grateful that we even connected.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And you being part of me finding my tribe, and like you said, you know, the more you accept yourself, now you're gonna start coming across more people, because that was even over the last few years, I've had more of this I want to say blooming of accepting all of my weird.
Okay, yeah, same.
Yeah, and the more I've done that, it's like, cool, I've been connecting with this one, or I'll go to this event. You know, I'm gonna say, F it. Yeah, I'm gonna go learn about some aliens. Yup. Yup. I'm gonna go learn about some herbs. Yup. You know, I'm gonna go watch people that do interesting things. That some of them I'm looking at it like, okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that process of accepting yourself is also similar to when your friend was like went from 80 to 100. Like when you go from 80 to 100 and accepting yourself, then you find people that you're like, oh, so I'm not weird. Like you're basically just like me. And if I had known you years ago, but also maybe not have gone through this process to get here. But yeah, this idea that I won't call it radical self-acceptance because I haven't really read up on all that, but I think it is our own version of radical self-acceptance, where it's like, well, we have all these different parts, and when you fully accept them and integrate them as part of who you truly are, instead of being a certain person in this environment and being a certain person in that environment, because that's what those people are willing to take of you, it just changes your boundaries, and it changes the way you feel about yourself. And I feel like that's when you really learn that one of the most important relationships you have in your life is the relationship you have with yourself. Like, I think
100%.
a lot of people are walking around thinking that the things in their life that are good, that will make them feel good, have to come from outside of them. And absolutely, people want you to believe that because they want you to buy everything that they're selling. But when you truly accept yourself and you truly love yourself, I mean, I'm not going to say you need less stuff because I have a lot of clothes, but I think that it causes you to be able to look at other people and also accept other people,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes your life much better. I think it does.
No, I get, that's why when you asked me before, like, what is, how do I interact with people when they're, expressing themselves? It's like just coming in with no judgment.
Okay.
I remember some old people I used to hang out with. This lady used to always find something to complain about with me, like, whether it was like I used to wear, I still do. I wear a wig every now and again. She, oh, why you always wearing a wig? Well, I love your hair, or whatever. She just find a little nitpick.
Yeah.
And I said to her one day, I said, do you notice that I don't complain about anything about you? And she had to think, she had to stop. She's like, you know what? You don't complain. I was like, no, because I'm just letting you be you. And I wish you would do the same for me, and it got to a point where I just fell out of alignment with it. Like, I just, I don't want to deal with this constant somebody trying to find something to have a problem with. And I'm like, I could sit here and pick out a whole bunch of problems, but why would I do that to myself? Like, for what?
Right.
You have to ask yourself sometimes, what are you getting out of complaining? What do you get out of it?
Right.
And when you can answer that question, that will free you. You'll come to more of an understanding, even with your ego. You got to learn how to have that conversation. Like, ego, why do you feel the need to have to do that? We don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
There's another way to get this done without doing it that way.
Right.
But part of the self-acceptance aspect of you is recognizing that you have different dimensions or different aspects of yourself, fully unconditionally loving the part of you that lied before, the part of you that might have did something that you feel is, that you're ashamed about, because guilt and shame is the number one theme that religion teaches people.
And those killers,
the hell out of people. And once you release yourself from that guilt and shame, it's so freeing. Like, nobody ever said you had to.
Right.
Nobody said you have to suffer. Nobody said that you have to feel bad. You don't have to do anything. You could choose it.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to guilt and shame, the thing I think is, like, when you stay in the present moment, those feelings don't exist, because a lot of the things that cause us guilt or shame are things that happened before,
Oh yeah.
It's just leave it there.
Yeah. And this whole fear of, well, if I do this, then God is going to punish me. No. God judges. No. They created God in the image of man. Like, all the stuff they're saying that God does. No, that's what men do. Men judge, men get mad, men get jealous, men want to revenge and burn you at the stake. Like, like, why would that's like me purposely setting you up for failure and then putting you in hell for it.
Right. Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
And that's there's a lot of critical thinking that's not that present in the world in general. I won't even just pick on religion, just in general, just critical thinking. Just ask the important questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's it. Just who, what, when, where, why, how. When you just ask those questions, and you'll be like, oh, okay. And especially with all the interesting things going on in the world that we ain't going to talk about, because we just here to enlighten people with information so that they could better navigate through their worlds. Because You need some balance
Yes,
nowadays.
absolutely. And I'm glad you said that because it makes me happy that, first of all, that we're on this journey together and that you invited me to do this with you, but also that we are spreading positive energy that other people can choose to jump into and then
Yeah.
think less about some of that other stuff.
Or be the change you want to see in the world. Don't complain about the world ain't changing. Be the change.
Right.
You know, just be the change. And for me, what we're doing is what I can do. You know, people are like, oh, what can you do? What can you
Right.
do? This is what we can do. And I'm
Absolutely.
doing something. And I hope that everybody out there, because we got to wrap up, and we'll be back next week, and we're gonna dig more into more about you, and
Okay.
also we're definitely gonna speak more on some self-love techniques and such. I'd love to get into that, like to talk more about journaling and such. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed
Yes.
our episode of Vibrations and Conversations. I'm your girl Wendy Zizzo, and here with Veronica. And yeah, we'll see y'all next
Thank you
time.
so much. Bye-bye.
Peace.